Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another exciting adventure in the Storytellers. We have a real power couple tonight. Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti are our guests. We're going to discuss their approaches to storytelling, their inspirations, where the business is going these days. So, without further ado, let's bring them into the room here and say hello. Hello, Amanda. Hello, Jimmy.
Hey, how are you?
It's awesome. It's awesome to see you guys. Glad you could make it.
I noticed you had all the visuals and all the art behind you, so I went for I'm kind of like looking through a windshield that's raining really hard kind of thing, because I'm like, all right, we need to be a contrast with Graham. It's like I was trying to figure out the panels over here, but
there's extra points if you can guess all the artists who are on there behind me.
Oh, you
I have to, look really close.
Okay, wait a second. You got to blow yourself big up.
Okay, hold on.
I see. All right, Steve Ditko. Joe is Joe Kubert.
Yeah.
Is John Buscema back there with Conan and a girl dancing.
Yeah. Right.
Let's see. Move your head a little bit. I want to see what that is. That's Will Eisner.
Right.
There's some Frank Robbins up in the corner.
Yes, sir.
And did I miss anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. The 3-panel strip.
Yeah. That one.
I'm not sure what that. Amanda, any idea with that 3-panel strip?
I don't.
No, that's the only one, and I think that's a Doc Savage painting behind it, or a shadow painting.
It is. It is very good. Walter Baumhofer.
Okay, and do you think that's Milk Kniff, this strip?
No, that one.
Oh no, that's Frank Robbins right there.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
that's Frank Robbins.
Look at that.
I should have brought my glasses with me.
The only one we don't know is the strip. Who is that?
So close. You were on your way to getting a no prize. That is my favorite cartoonist, Roy Crane.
Oh, Roy Crane. Okay, yeah, that would be. See, that would be a hard one for me to know.
Buzz Sawyer.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's funny because when I was in high school, I was in 10th grade, and went to the High School of Art and Design in New York, and I was in 10th grade, and the teacher gave me a piece of paper with an address on it. He goes, "Hey, you're pretty good with the comic stuff. Go to this address so you can help a real comic book artist do his work." So I took a train to Queens, middle of nowhere, Queens, and
the town of middle of nowhere,
Queens. Yeah, a Brooklyn kid. Queens was like another place, right? I took a train there, and I walked up to this house, and there's this old guy in the window, like inking away, and I get in, and his name's Chick Stone.
Oh.
And he goes, "Oh, the teacher sent you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I said, "You need some help?" And he goes, "Okay, here." And he gives me a page. It's Invaders 41 page, and it's a Frank Robbins breakdown. He didn't do full pencils. Frank Robbins broke it down. And he said, in this panel, I need a train station. I need a nice train station. He goes, "Bring it back to me tomorrow. Here, and go." So I took the train all the way down to Coney Island, where all the trains were sitting, and
train station or train yard?
Train yard, sorry, train yard. And so then I sat there, and I went over the fence, and I drew the train yard, and I brought it back to him the next day, and he says, "Here's $5. I didn't ask for a damn photo. Take care." So I lost my job in one day working for Chick Stone, inking Frank Robbins. Fortunately, by 11th grade, a guy named Dave Simons needed help doing some backgrounds and stuff. And eventually I started inking like Don Newton and some Gene Colan Howard the Duck magazines and doing gray wash. And all the time I was in high school. And I think I was making like $10 or $15 a week doing that stuff. And that's when I got to 12th grade. I said, "You know what? There's no money in comics. I'm getting the hell out of comics." And I went into advertising. Because of those guys.
You were right about that.
Yes.
I didn't know you had inked Don Newton. Don Newton was one of my favorites. In fact, when I took over Batman, he was one of the main inspirations for how I approached drawing the character.
Yeah, he was tremendous. I was inking him on a magazine called Time Warp. And it was a 100-page DC science fiction book, and it were these short stories done by all the thing. And they gave me a Don Newton one, and they gave me a war story. I don't know who it was, but it was the guy. I never had my name on it, but if you look in the background of a lot of comics, you'll see Palmiotti Street, or I I think in a Ghost Rider issue, it's Palmiotti pickle truck going by. Like anytime I can get a credit, I put my name in. And then I remember I was working on Ghost Rider 6 or 7, and I was helping Mark Texera do it, and I went in and brought pages into Bobby Chase at Marvel, and I said, you know, I inked all the backgrounds in this. And she goes, okay. And I said, I want a background inker credit. And she gave it to me for that issue. That was my first Marvel credit. So
you were like Tony Mortello was to John Romita, huh? You know, putting your name on the backgrounds and stuff.
I was because I felt invisible at the time. I felt like I was so happy. I mean, I got to go up to the Marvel offices. You know, that was like the exciting thing. I walked into John Romita's office and I introduced myself. I was so bold. And Johnny's like, who are you? And I'm like, you don't know me. I'm going to be working here. And yeah, and whatever. He was very sweet.
Someday I'm going to be taking a shower in the office up there.
Right, I'm going to be showering on the 12th floor, and you guys are going to regret it.
That's right.
I'm going to drop that towel. You know?
So what was, let's start with you, Amanda. What was your aha moment, that moment where you said, hey, you know what? I want to do comics. I want to do visual storytelling.
When I found out that I couldn't actually be a superhero. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know that you couldn't actually. I even practiced. I used to practice being a superhero, and when I found out it wasn't, you know, a paying career choice, I was like, all right, I got to figure out something, you know. And I kind of bounced around in junior high school, you know, like lion tamer, action movie star, race car driver. I wanted to do something, you know, kind of superhero-ish.
Right.
And then I'm really unathletic, and, you know, there was no chance of me joining the circus. And, you know, I was just like, okay, I guess I could, you know, I've always been able to draw, you know, even when I was little. Both of my parents are artists, so there was always art supplies lying everywhere. I'm like, well, I guess I could draw them. If I can't be them, I can draw them. And that's when I was like, you know, I think this is probably going to be in the direction I'm going in. And then I found out that there was an actual comic book art school, and I'm like, yeah, I think this is going to be my choice. So,
and they didn't have math? Did they have math there or no?
No math.
No
there
math.
You go.
Except, you know, like learning, you know, stuff that nobody uses anymore. Picas and agates, you know.
Yeah. Now, you guys in the chat room might not know that Amanda and I were classmates at the Kubert School.
Yes.
And I can't remember if you were in my first stint or my second stint, because I went a year and then ran out of money.
Oh.
Took a year off and then came back a year. So were you there 81, 82? Was that your first year?
No, it was 83, 84 was my first year.
Okay, so that was my second stint. That's when I came back. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that was my first year. It was fun. You know, it was so much fun to be out on your own and doing, like, your only job was to draw a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, yay.
Yeah. It was hard work, though. I mean, you spent a lot of hours, you know, doing homework. But
did Joe Kubert ever say to you this sentence? If you're getting enough sleep, we're not giving you enough work.
I do remember that.
He must have said that to every class, you know. And so I was like, okay, then I guess I won't get enough sleep. And yeah, you know, we pull all-nighters. Except we lived in that a couple. They're definitely, they can't possibly be around anymore. The Deannis. It was this older Italian. And they
on
had
Prospect?
What's that?
Was it Prospect Street?
Yes.
Yeah, I lived in their house my first year.
Yes. So the girls lived in one house and the boys lived in the other house. But I would just go over to the boys' house and we'd all do our work together. You know, it was just it was like there was a lot of camaraderie. The Mary Hildebrandt was living in the house with me. So Mary and I would go over there and we would just like spend hours and, like, you know, we would all do our work together and we'd all be talking about stuff. And I think they had like MTV running 24/7 in that house. Right. And we would just be like doing homework and watching videos. So. That's
And
what
Twilight Zone reruns and all that other shit.
yeah. so yeah, it was kind of nice to have I mean, it's such a lonely job, doing comic books.
Mhm.
It was really nice to have a bunch of people to do them with. Now I have my own little studio that I live up in like a hobbit.
On the second floor hobbit.
Yeah. I live in the upper part of the tree.
I know Amanda's upstairs and I'm downstairs, so we're completely separate places.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't, because of what I do, I can't listen to people talking or TV. And what she does, she can have TV going the whole time.
But it can't be interesting TV. It has to be like, it has to be interesting TV, but not visually interesting TV. Because then I'll just sit there and not draw it. I'll just stare at the television if it's visually interesting.
I find that I do better watching old movies when I'm working because they're so dialogue heavy. I can tell what's going on by all the dialogue. In modern movies, I just watched this one with Russell Crowe. It's sort of like Falling Down, where he's this psychopath who just flips out.
The trailer for that. Yeah, he's like in the truck and the ladies.
Yes, it's a road rage story.
It's a road rage
and
thing.
There's a lot of those quiet moments or moments where the music is going and there's no dialogue, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm not getting work done. So,
yeah.
It's a pretty good movie.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. We just finished Saul, so we're happy.
Yeah, Better Call Saul, which was great.
I have a friend that works on the show, and I'm just like, so what's happening next? And he goes, no.
I got to get caught up on that one. I think a season behind on that.
Yeah. It's that's the thing is we had never watched Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul.
Oh.
When it originally aired, so we just we got to binge watch it.
Yeah, we binge watch.
It was crazy.
And actually,
amazing.
And season 5 of Saul is available on Amazon at half price for the season, so it's like $12 for the whole season.
We're like,
I'm in. Yeah, we're like, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Jimmy? What was your aha moment, or that thing where you made a decision, or was it accidental with you?
I got out of comics because, like I said, I saw these guys living like I mean, I think there was a studio that I did work for. It was Dave Simons, Armando Gil, Ken Landgraf, maybe another person or two, and they all lived in a tiny apartment that was the size of my bedroom at home, and 3 grown men. They couldn't, I thought they had these things on the wall with tons of reference, and I asked them, I'm like, do you guys all live here? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, where do you sleep? And they pulled down the reference. They put reference on the back of their mattresses that they leaned against the wall. So they dropped all the mattresses down at night, and they all slept, the 3 of them. And I'm like, nope, I can't do this. I'm like, I came from a poor family. I can't stay this poor. And so I went to college. I went to City College for 2 years, and I took advertising. And then I got a job in doing photo retouching and illustration in an ad agency. Mm-hmm. And I was there for years, and eventually they made me a partner there. And then it was literally my 30th birthday that I sat there and I said, I really want to do comics again. Now I'm smarter. I can figure this out, how to make money doing this. And out of nowhere, I heard from my high school buddy, Mark Texera. He was drawing Punisher and Ghost Rider, 2 books a month.
Oh, I didn't know you went to school with Tex.
Yeah, I went to high school with Tex, and he said, "Oh my God, please help me! I'm losing my mind." And I said, "I'll help you if we only work up at Marvel Comics in the bullpen." So every day I went in the bullpen with him. I met him at 5 o'clock, and I started doing backgrounds, and I would do art samples, and I would walk by each office and drop my latest samples off. And eventually they started hiring me because they couldn't not. Every day I had new samples for them, like every other day. And Bobby Chase and Fabian and Don Daly, and like I started getting like work, like, hey, this book is late. Can you do 2 pages while you're here? And I'm like, sure, I can do anything, because you didn't say no to anything.
That's right.
I was making fun today actually because one of the first books I inked, they gave me to ink was a book called Night Cat, which is, you should never remember it. It was a horrible book for Marvel. It was a one-shot that somebody paid to have done for their girlfriend who was a singer. But it was drawn by Dennis Cowan. Dennis did breakdowns, and it was 48 pages. And I remember it might have been Bob Budiansky saw me in the hallway and had these oversized 48 pages. He goes, "You want to ink this?" And I was like, I'll ink anything. What do you got? And he goes, "It's 48 pages." And I'm looking at it, and it's Dennis breakdowns, which are very and he says, "I need it in 2 weeks." I'm like, "No sweat." And then I got home, and then all the sweat started coming. I was like, "Oh my God, like this is a mess." Like this, I've never done this before. And now they're breakdowns. And thank God I had Tex with me. Tex was like, you just kind of, do that. Don't worry about it, whatever. But I got work up there by being a guy that I'll tell you, I remember X Factor 1 came in by Rob Liefeld. They had the whole book come in, and they were like, it's gonna leave the office in an hour. And they handed out pages to everybody in the bullpen. Anything you can do to fix some of this, to, tweak a little bit of that. I had one thing that there was an explosion, and it looked like a butterfly was humping a building or something. And they're like, "Can you make it look more like an explosion?" And I'm like, "Oh, I could see. Yeah, I can fix that a little bit." And we all so I was the guy that was in the office that would be like, fix things. And of course, then John Romita would come over and fix it again. That's what John did. And then eventually I just started getting regular work, and I took my advertising sensibility, meaning they need the book by Thursday. So of course I would walk in Wednesday with it completely done. And the editor would be so happy to go, "Here, take another book," and that's pretty much how I broke in at Marvel.
What year was that?
That was 91.
91. So you're
91 and the beginning of 92. Yeah.
Okay. And how about you, Amanda? What was your first professional sale, and what year was that?
88. It was Solo Avengers number 12 was my very first paid story. Like I had done other stuff, some things that never got published and other things that got published, but it was for, like a charity thing. Bill Sienkiewicz had said, "You should do a page in Strip AIDS," which was a book that they had done for, an AIDS charity. So that was my actual first published work. But my first paid work for Marvel was Solo Avengers number 12.
Who inked you on that?
Stan Drake. I got Stan Drake to.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that was okay. So what happened is I after I had gotten out of the Kubert school, I was working I worked at Chemical Color for a while, which was excruciating. Mm-hmm. Then I worked at a comic book store, the Dream Factory. And then I found out that Bill Sienkiewicz was looking for a studio assistant. So I was like, I'm in. So I was Bill's studio assistant for a while. And he had moved his studio from his house to up next door to Stan Drake and Leonard Starr and all these great people. So I go up there and This is in Connecticut, yeah. Okay. In Westport, right downtown. And I would go in and I would, just, hang out with Stan and Leonard. And it was great. It was so much fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I had gone to Marvel, and mostly Marvel because it was so easy to get to from the train station. I would go up there and I'd show my samples. And it was great because I would go into the city with my dad, who worked in advertising, and I'd use his phone, and technically I'm not lying. I would say, "Hey, I'm from out of town, but I have to leave this afternoon. Is there any way I could come in and show some samples?" They'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay, fine. Come on in." So that's how I got my first job.
And who was the editor that hired you?
Greg Wright. He was my first editor. Evan Skolnick was his assistant editor, and I got my first job from Greg, and it was the backup story in Solo Avengers. It was when Yellow Jacket was the female Yellow Jacket.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that, and he knew that I worked for Bill. and he knew that I knew Stan Drake, and he's like, would you like me to ask Stan to ink you? And I'm like, oh yes, please. So he asked Stan, and Stan was like, sure, why not? I'd be happy to. So
That's so
yeah, I lucked
funny.
out.
I was talking to Greg recently about when he was an editor there, and we're talking about, because he knows how much I love the strip guys, and he mentioned that Stan Drake was doing work at Marvel, and nobody knew who he was.
Oh
And
my God.
you know, he said, no, we got to get Stan to do some stuff, you know. And now we're talking, we find out that, you know, Greg got Stan to do your first job. That's amazing.
It looks, I mean, it's probably the best looking first job that anybody ever did, because it looks like Stan Drake. You know, I was like,
not that there's anything wrong with that.
I was so happy. I was like, all right, I'm going to get work from now on.
Right out of the gate with a home run. That's awesome.
I lucked out. I was like, and yeah, it was all just, you know, it was a lot of, you know, hanging out with those guys. You know, I just used to hang out with them. So he knew that I knew them, and he knew that that Stan would probably say yes to it. So.
Now, did you tell them when you were hanging out stuff, your background, like going to the Cupid school? I'm sure they knew Joe, right?
Yeah.
Certainly by reputation, if not personally.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I can't remember if Stan told me he knew Joe personally or not. I don't remember. It was a long time. It was 1988.
Oh yeah.
A long time.
I remember that. Not really.
But yeah, I remember it. I mean, you can tell it was like, it's real old school, because Stan would be smoking so much in that. Like he was a chain smoker.
Oh.
And you walk into that studio, and like a cloud of smoke would billow out the door, and everything like had a yellow film all over it from all the nicotine.
Including Stan.
Yeah, he was funny though. They were both really, really fun guys, really nice guys.
That whole Westport, Connecticut cartoonist cabal, if you will, there was so many strip guys that lived in that area because it was easy to get into the city. And you know, they were doing strips when there was big money in it. You know, like Mort Walker, you know, he had, you know, thousands and thousands of papers with all the strips that he was doing, and these guys were making millions. And the lives they led, you know, they're smoking, they were drinking, they were on the golf course by 4 o'clock. You know, I mean, the stories these guys could tell. I mean, I would love to be a fly on the wall and hear these guys, you know, talk about the day.
Well, I used to go to there was a place called Ships downstairs from the studio, and it, you know, it was a bar restaurant. They used to make amazing clam chowder, and I remember Stan used to order a Bloody Mary after work. You know, he'd like work, you know, early in the morning. 5 o'clock, he stopped. He went downstairs to like have cigarettes and drink his Bloody Marys, and when they put like a celery stalk in his Bloody Mary, he'd be like, stop putting this goddamn salad in my drink.
That's awesome. Yeah. Sounds like Darwin.
He was very Darwin.
Very Darwin cook.
Darwin would have been an amazing 1950s, 1960s strip guy living in Connecticut.
Doubt about it.
He would have fit in so well with those guys. You know?
Yeah. He had that attitude.
Oh yeah. He liked that lifestyle.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fun.
What is your favorite part of the process? Do you write stuff at all, Amanda, or you
do sometimes? Like I don't write like he writes. You know, I write I write stories rarely. Yeah, but I mean that was you did, like, Jimmy builds the house and then I decorate it. That's sort of how I describe it. You know, he does he does the heavy lifting of the writing. And so our process is kind of like, we'll sit down at lunch or something, and Jimmy goes, okay, here's my idea for Harley. And I'll be like, cool. And he's like, what should she do now? And like, if I have an idea, I'll like throw it out there, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Then he writes it, and then I'll go in, and I have like Harley's voice so clearly in my head that I do the dialogue, and I mean, I don't know if you've read the Harley stuff a lot, but it's written phonetically, the way she talks, you know, with her heavy duty Brooklyn accent. And then there's like a couple of other characters in there that have that. And, you know, so I'll go in and do that. And I had a mom and a daughter come up to me at a con once, and she's like, you know, we love what you guys are doing, and I use Harley Quinn to teach my daughter how to read and how to spell. And I'm like, don't do that. You know, because Harley is speaking phonetically. She's not speaking with, you know, correct spelling all the time.
Right.
So, but I really enjoy it. I enjoy, you know, like going over the dialogue. That's sort of what we're doing with Red Sonja now. It's like, we're sort of,
I'm writing it, and then you're going in and adding all the crazy Sonja, like Roy Thomas.
Yeah, I'm like
phrases, you know.
Trying to unleash my inner Roy Thomas.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, we're literally writing the Sonja series, like, because people are like, are you going to modernize it? You gonna do? And we're like, nope. I said we grew up reading Red Sonja by Roy Thomas, and that's the Red Sonja and Frank Thorne. That's what you're getting. Sorry, but that's what we're gonna do. Is she's gonna be yelling all that? What is she yell all the time? All these crazy things.
By the seven hells.
Yeah, you know, like she's just like, and you know, and because people, I think I don't know what
Terrence Blood.
Terrence Blood. Yeah, I don't know what they were expecting, but I said we're gonna write the book we want to read.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing with that. And the first issue did really well, so we're happy.
Yeah.
I have a copy of it right here. There you go.
Oh, excellent.
All right.
Nice.
But and we had Moritat doing the art inside, who is fantastic. But you know, it's like it's the only reason we took it on. It was like, all right, if we can do what I told Nick at Dynamite, I said, if we can do what we want to do, then we'll do it. And he said, do whatever you want. Like,
nice.
Yeah. So
that's cool. I love Frank Thorne's stuff. He just left us a few years ago, or actually this past year, right?
Last year.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at. I have a drawing, a sketch.
Another reason
right
to be miserable about 2020.
Oh, he lived a good long life, to be sure. But
I know, yeah.
Here's a pencil. Somebody had a pencil rough by Frank.
Hold on, let me put this up on the.
He really is good at the naked ladies.
Yeah, there's a little. You know,
there we go.
It's a rough he did for a strip. You know.
Yeah.
It's just a pencil rough on some
I don't think I've ever seen
paper.
This.
Yeah, I picked it up online. Somebody was selling it for next to nothing, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it except put it in a portfolio. And
what year was that?
It's got to be old because it's pretty.
It's a little risque.
Well, it's risque.
It says it's true. The chicks you shtup on the way up, are the same babes you shtup on the way down. Yeah.
That's got to be 60s. That's got to be 60s.
Has to be the 60s, especially with the hair. It definitely looks like the 60s.
There's a lot of shtupping going on in that Frank Thorne.
He must have been a dirty old man, but God, I love his work.
Yeah, his Sonja was fantastic. And then when he did the dirty Sonja, I call it, the one after it, he did
Gita.
Gita, yeah. I was like, I don't care. This is great too. You know, I'm like
Dirty Sonja.
Dirty Sonja, yeah. He does Dirty
and
Sonja.
Ribbit. Wasn't that one? Wasn't that when he did Ribbit for Kamiko?
Yeah, Ribbit was it was another.
That was cute too. Yeah,
he was great. You know, it's like these are the guys we grew up with and we're in awe of. You know, just still are. Yeah.
So, who was your inspiration artistically? As you mostly do writing these days. So as a writer, who's your your go-to inspiration? Would you say?
Writing's tough because I have problem reading other people's stuff when I'm writing because it just takes my brain and shuffles it. And so I try to stay away from that. And I'll watch films. And I'll admire the writing in them, and but as far as comics, I'm not a huge superhero fan. So I probably my roots are in I got to tell you, like Master Kung Fu and Swamp Thing, and I'm thinking about the comics I love, the Jonah Hexes, and the, so all the genre stuff was the stuff I loved to read. So and Roy Thomas was doing half of the books way back when I was growing up.
Sure.
But I think it was a mix. Like I'll right away I'll say Doug mentioned Paul Galassi on Master Kung Fu, or on Killraven, with P. Craig Russell, and like certain things hit me visually. Bernie doing Swamp Thing, and stuff like that. So I my brain, Red Sonja by Barry Smith and Roy Thomas. It's like I have these like pocket books that I love. And here's something nice. Drew with Comics Elite. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Get my fish you too. I think that's comes out in a couple of weeks. Drew, thank you so much for that, buddy.
Thanks for the super chat, Drew. Appreciate it.
And Billy Tucci.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Hey Billy, I called you twice. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for buying me the beer, Billy.
There you go.
Nice.
But there's a lot of people I admired, and I read a lot of things. I'm one of those guys. I'm like, everyone says Alan Moore, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. But my brain went somewhere else, with my stuff. I definitely a genre person, though. I how you say you like the strips, because I like the genre stuff. I've always liked it, and I just to this day I'm still doing genre comics. I never looked at Harley Quinn as a superhero comic. Mm-hmm. And definitely working on Jonah Hex for 6 years, that was like, for me, it was like a gift, because us kids from Brooklyn and Queens and Long Island know everything about cowboys. So
hey, I saw my first John Wayne movie in Long Island. So
there you go. There's a question there about James Bond, and I will say this, like, because I've been offered James Bond. But TJ, until we can have a likeness, I would do a Connery Bond comic. But until we can do a likeness, I have no interest, because then we have to draw a non-Bond, I call it. I have no interest in that. Yeah, and I have no interest in that.
Is that what they have to do? They have to not make it look like
an actor. And I'm like to me, Connery was my Bond, and if they said, well, you can use a Connery likeness, you can get an artist that uses a Connery, I'd be like, I'm in. I'm going to get Graham Nolan to draw it, damn it, because I know he could draw a good Connery. And I
love Connery.
There you go. But until then, I don't have a desire to do it. It's such a weird thing, but
no, I get that.
It's like doing Dirty Harry comics, but you can't use Clint Eastwood. I'm like, well, why would I do it? I don't understand.
Yeah. I was listening to Chuck's show the other day, and he had proposed a Dirty Harry meets the Punisher, I think it was.
Right.
No, it wasn't the Punisher. It was it was somebody at DC. It was a DC character.
Right.
And it was like one of those things where this is perfect, it was Batman. So that's what it was. It was Batman meets Dirty Harry. And everybody was gung-ho for it except Clint.
Well, I'll tell you.
He didn't want his likeness.
Years ago, I did a proposal for Warner Brothers, and I gave them a list of all the movie characters that they owned. And can we do comics? And one of them was Dirty Harry, and Clint Eastwood was like, no to the likeness. So I said, well, then you can't do it.
Yeah.
I said, that's, people don't want to read. I don't think they want to read something that doesn't look like, I think the cheating thing was Paul Galassi doing Master Kung Fu and then having somebody look like Connery, Reston look like Connery, and the other guy looked like Marlon Brando, young Brando. Like, I loved when Paul did that in the comic, but I knew it was a cheat. I knew, like, you couldn't say it was those guys.
Right. And that's important.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because we have those movies, so why would a comic would only be like a watered down version of it? I think. Right.
Yeah. So, how about you, Amanda? Artistically, your inspirations, your the people you look to, to form your own style, and
I think I mean, really early on, I never even thought about like I want to draw like this person. I just sort of automatically, I saw something I liked and I just start drawing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most kids who become artists do that. You know, they just like, oh, I want to do it like this. Really early on, I had an Eloise book by Hilary Knight, and there's actually, I must have had it when I was 2 because there's like crayon all over it. And I think my mom might still have it, but then she bought me another one that, you know, is more intact. So Hilary Knight might have been my first inspiration. And then to this day, Chuck Jones is still one of my big inspirations. And every once in a while, I'm just
I can see that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see
once
that.
in a while, I'm just like, screw this. I'm just going to Chuck Jones out. And I'll just do a cover full on, you know, animated style. Frank Miller was one of my inspirations because he's like his storytelling and his pacing.
Mm-hmm.
I was so like really into that. I was really into the X-Men when Byrne and Claremont were doing it.
Yeah. Frank Miller's a big fan of Amanda's, which is kind of funny.
Really flattering.
Yeah.
Wow.
He loves her work. Yeah.
It's come around. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's it. We could swap them covers. We could trade.
That's what we're hoping for. Wendy Pini. So when I was in art, it was funny when I was in high school. I became very close with, and we're still close. This guy Steve Bunch, who was working at Marvel and DC for a while, and he used to just like have his own art style and just draw and do all sorts of fun stuff. But in math class, Steve and I would draw. And in art class, we would read comics. So no matter where we weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing. But he got me into, you know, the Byrne X-Men's.
Okay.
And then he introduced me to ElfQuest. So I really got into Wendy Pini.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was a huge art inspiration for me also. So yeah, like I think it's just a big mix of a lot of different artists.
I think that's true for all of us, unless you're one of those people that's just like, well, I'm emulating Frank Frazetta, and that's my style. Well, no, it's Frank's style. You know, I mean, you can just copy it.
And you're good at it.
Yeah, it's good, but it's derivative. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I think most of us tend to take bits and pieces from those that we admire and apply them to our own, and that's what becomes us, because now it's unique. You've eschewed those things you don't like, because there's always something about your idols that you can say, I don't like the way this guy does that thing, and I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to do it like this guy, you know, and then all of a sudden, bam, it becomes you.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way. I never even thought of that. Like you just you pull out the pieces that work for you and discard the pieces that don't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I always tell students and you know, people that ask me about their, you know, how to get better is you have to deconstruct your heroes. You know, look at what they do, try and figure out why they do those choices, why they make those choices, and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Because, you know, there's plenty of things you could say about everybody that, you know, isn't maybe their strong point, but then there's the stuff that, you know, just jumps out at you, you know.
Yeah.
Like you could say Jack Kirby, power, energy, dynamics, imagination. Hot looking women, not so much.
Nope.
Right? Okay, so
yeah. No, it's true. I mean,
have you ever tried to ape Jack Kirby?
Not a direct ape, where, you know, I was trying to fool people into thinking it was Jack Kirby, but certainly stylistically, you know, I brought in some of his thought processes in designing things, you know, that kind of stuff.
I tried to ape Jack Kirby when it was Marvel Knights for you guys.
Black Panther book with
Joe
Jusko.
And so, you know, I was kind of like, I'm going to do my best Jack Kirby. It killed me. It was so hard because it's like you think it's simple, but it's not. you know, and it's all about the power.
It's stylized. It's
And
so
it's
stylized.
ultra stylized. So yeah, it was one of the hardest things I ever
Yeah,
did.
because his hands were like weird, and like if you drew just like Jack, you'd be fixing stuff. I want to answer the Moondoggy question.
Moondoogie.
Love Retrovirus, The Tattered Man, and Monolith. Any plans to do more stories with these characters? Thanks,
Yeah, so
thank you, Moondoggy. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, because I have I not Retrovirus so much, but the Tattered Man and Monolith. I plan to do a story also with some other characters like G.I. Zombie and a couple of other characters I have. I want to do like a big mashup with all the characters, because over the years I got the rights back to stuff I did for DC, so now I can run with these characters.
Oh,
so
nice.
I want to do one big book with all of them. So yes, I plan to do something, and you'll see more Monolith and Tattered Man coming soon.
Oh, there you go, Moondoggy.
I want to answer Brian Blevins. He says, if I could have the bestest friend in the whole wide world, would it be? It would be you, but Amanda's my bestest friend in the whole world. But Brian, I think you're number 2, buddy. So,
yeah.
So
Second fiddle, Brian.
If anybody asks you, Brian, you could say you're number 2. That's all, you know.
You're Jimmy's number 2.
You're my number 2. There you go.
Oh, James, I would honestly love a quarterly graphic novel series of The Phantom by Graham and a Modesty Blaze series by Amanda and Jimmy.
I would. Cool. Modesty definitely would be.
That'd be up your alley.
I think you have to be English for that, don't you? You have to kind of. I butchered the English language. I'm not so sure you want me doing it. I butchered it. My brother Amanda will fix all my. The Brooklyn will come out. You know.
So, here's a question for you guys. In the process, I mean, the creation of stories and art for it, there's a process. And we all have our favorite parts of that process, and we all have our least favorite part. What is your favorite part, Amanda?
Facial expressions, hands down.
Okay.
And body language. Yeah, and pacing too. Actually, I like doing the thumbnails because I like the idea of pacing something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just for like, you know, storytelling effect or comedic timing effect.
Right.
And then like being able to do the facial expressions just like is the icing on the cake for me. I love doing that. That's like my favorite thing to do.
Okay, Jimmy?
I think my favorite part of making comics is getting the art back from the artist of something I wrote and seeing what they did with it. I mean, I'm not saying it's always a wonderful time. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, did you just like skip a whole paragraph here? But when it's really on and when they bring something to it that I never imagined, like all of a sudden I got the pencils back and I'm like, oh my God, this is like 10 times better than I even saw it. It's like such a great gift, you know, to get. I mean, look, let's be honest. It's easy for me to say 300 spaceships fill the sky. But somebody to draw that's going to take a little longer than my sentence, you know. So I'm always like, I'm always in awe when it comes back and it's actually better than I imagined it. Amanda's one of those people that does that for me. Chad Harden is a guy that no matter what I give him, it always comes back better. There's like better storytelling.
Chad's incredible
going on, and you know, Juan Santa Cruz. There's a whole bunch of guys.
I'm loving what Mortad's doing on Sonia.
Yeah, Mortad comes back with his own. I tell Mortad, I'm like, give me you. I want your art, but I want Barry Smith's spirit to jump into your body for a while. I said, give me those backgrounds where it's lush. I want to feel like it's lush, you know. But that's probably the best part for me is seeing what people bring me from my scripts and you know the acting part of it too. You know, it's so when I'm disappointed, it's you know it's on me because sometimes I think I didn't describe it enough or I didn't get my thing across, or sometimes the artist is just like tired. I know I could tell when somebody's like, you know, I could see it on the page sometimes, and I'm like, okay, well, let me just rewrite that panel, you know.
Well, that's very considerate of you.
Yeah, because I know, you know, it's when I'm writing, and I guess because I'm an artist, when I'm writing, I see the whole space. I see upstairs, downstairs. I see, and it's not always I try not to overwrite because I don't want to put handcuffs on the artist and tell them, I want them to come in there and have fun with it. So I think especially with my Kickstarters, I'm like, you do what you do, and I will pay you your page rate. My guys, I pay them the day they hand in the art. I pay them because I figure they're waiting. They're waiting. But that's probably the best part for me.
Okay.
Is seeing the art. Yeah.
Least favorite part, Amanda?
Erasing. It's like
Erasing.
such a pain in the ass.
It is a pain in the ass, actually.
Yeah, she hates it. You complain about it all the time.
It's like, erasure crumbs get everywhere. I mean, I know that like if I work digitally, that wouldn't be a problem, but
you don't.
I really like working on paper. I love the feel of working on Bristol paper and pen and ink, and I love the feel of it.
You're a tactile person.
I'm a tactile.
Yeah,
person, but I mean, I enjoy doing digital stuff. I have an iPad where I use the Procreate program, which I love.
Yes.
It's really fun, but nothing beats drawing on a piece of paper. I love that. But the eraser crumbs, man, erasing and eraser crumbs, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. I like having the tactile feel of paper as well, but I do all my projects now are being done in Procreate on my tablet, just because I can ink faster than I can.
You color your own work? You color it?
No. Greg Wright's coloring.
Greg! Did Greg do all the crabs here?
Actually, that's Elizabeth Breitweiser who did the cover.
Oh, that's really nice. I mean, it's nice. Yeah.
It's got a very European feel to it.
Greg is great. I mean, I love Greg's stuff. Tell him I said hi, by the way.
I will. Yeah, he's been my go-to guy. He started coloring me on Joe Frankenstein. I hired him for that. And then Bane Conquest, he colored that. And he's now coloring the series that I wrote for Brett Blevins, the Girls of Dimension 13.
And we love Brett. We love Brett.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you talked about
him on Harley as soon as we could. We were like, I'm like, Brett, come on, man.
You talk about pages coming back. Like, I had all these crazy sequences, and I said, channel your inner Ditko type of stuff. And, like you said, not overriding it, letting him have his own imagination aspect. And Brett just freaking killed it. Pages came back and I'm like, oh yeah, that's great.
I have a lot of original art by him because I used to buy, like I have some Al Williamson ink pages, and then I have some, he inked himself, and he drew me like the filthiest Painkiller Jane character, like the filthiest one, like 70s Bush and everything. It was just crazy. And
it's not filthy.
What's that?
It's not filthy.
It's not filthy. I'm gonna make a cover out of it. Okay, is that okay?
It's naughty, but
it's naughty. It's not filthy. That's right. I'm sorry.
If you want filthy, I'll have to show you Ron Garney's Bane drawing he did in my Bane book.
No. Well, that's for another time. We don't want to get Ron in trouble. But Brett,
awesome.
It's
awesome.
He's just amazing. He's just amazing. He really is. One of my favorite artists. His stuff is just so much life to it.
Somebody's
If our Christmas tree is still up, no, it's not. Our Christmas tree is not still up.
I was so good this year.
It's May.
I got it down before May hit.
Okay.
It's
some people that know us too well over here asking us about Christmas tree. It was a joke in our house. It would be up for a long time.
It would, yeah.
All right, Jimmy, your least favorite part of the process?
Artists that lie to me and think I was born yesterday. Excuses, people making excuses that I know are not real.
Interesting.
Like, I am so you tell me the truth. You know what, Jimmy? I was just tired. I didn't feel inspired. I went to the ball game. Those are great excuses. Making up stuff, like you can't. I'm a Brooklyn kid. You're telling me a story. I'm shaking my head. I'm like, come on, you could do better than that. Just tell me you didn't feel like drawing that day. I get that. I totally am gonna, that I think so. People making bullshit excuses to me, even after I've known them for years, or they tell me, or if I get somebody going, I'll have it for you tomorrow, and I don't hear from them for 3 days, that drives me insane. She has to hear about it. So I'd rather you tell me, hey, guess what? You're not getting it for 3 days. I'd be like, okay, there you go. but I don't like when people bullshit me. And some people are in this business so long, they just do it automatically. You know, they used to be able to tell me FedEx lost the package, but now we can scan them and send them. So FedEx is like, no more, you can't use this anymore. And so FedEx is off the hook. But yeah, I don't like being bullshit too, as far as like deadlines and stuff. I'd rather people be honest with me. And sometimes it drives me nuts because I let people know that I really need this by Friday. So anything you can do, and then they disappear for 4 days.
Yeah,
you know, and that drives me a little crazy because I would never do that to them. So yeah,
I completely understand it, because Joe taught us a long time ago, deadlines. You know, never say no to a job. Figure out how you're going to do it later, but turn it in on time.
Yes,
you know, and when people either lie or they don't communicate with you, that's even worse to me. Is like they go AWOL on you, and you're like, hello, where are these pages? You know,
it's disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. Yeah,
I'm notoriously bad with deadlines. I'm just slow. I just am, but I try and like let the editor know, look, I'm slow. I'm gonna have to get this to you, you know, just so that they're not scratching their heads, you know, wondering where it is.
I mean,
but that's honesty. You know, that's honesty, and you being upfront and saying you're slow, and knowing that the pages are going to look great. That you're not just hacking them out. You're slow because you're methodical and you want it to look good. They can respect that. I mean, you know,
companies have different, you know, because they have to put out product. They don't look at it as like art, or they look at it as product. They have to get it out.
Yeah.
But you know, like even with my Kickstarters, I've done 16 or 17. I don't know. I've never had a late one, and if something's delayed, I let everybody know. I say, hey guys, you know, printer told me it's going to be an extra week because the spot varnish has to be done elsewhere. Like I completely explain it because I respect that somebody's spending their hard money with me, and if it's running late and I tell them, then they don't have to worry about it or get mad. But when you break that communication, of course, people get upset. And, you know, Graham, you probably have this too. People complain to us about other people's Kickstarters. And I'm like, I can't tell you. I don't know what's going on with them. All I know is mine is, you know, you have mine right now.
Really?
So. Oh my God. Yeah.
They knew about somebody
they tell me, you know, I still didn't get this book from this guy. And I'm like, do you want me to go to his house and ring the bell? I don't know what to tell you. I can't control him. But I will say, I'll tell you when you're going to get my book. You know, you'll get an email from me. And
and you can bank on it. You know, if I say it's going to be there, that's when it's going to be there. Yeah, you know, I do get that, you know, and also get, you know, I almost gave up on supporting crowdfunding, but you've given me hope because, you know, you're running a good campaign and you're always keeping us in a loop, you know, that type of a thing.
Yeah.
Very important.
You know, we're in a state of our lives, and of what we're doing is that us communicating with the audience like we are today, right? And understanding that these people are supporting us, so they deserve the respect that I would give anyone that is willing to support my art, and each one of them deserves all my attention and all my support. And if they have a problem, I want to hear from them, and if there's anything like that, like I said, you know, this is a relationship we start with our creative work. And I want that relationship to not only stay great, but be a long time, because we plan on putting out a lot of books in the future. And I want to make sure that relationship is there, you know.
This is a good jumping on point, because I wanted to talk about the business of comics and how it's changed from the days when we first got into it. And where it's heading, and in particular, let's first address crowdfunding. We talked about it peripherally a little bit here, but where do you see that going? You've crowdfunded a bunch of books. Have they all been successful for you?
Yeah, they have. I mean, I think I was one of the first name guys to do a comic crowdfunding, because Kickstarter just started, and I did this thing, Queen Crab, and it was only to raise like $5,000 or something like that. But I wanted to try it out, and I learned, of course, a lot on that one. I was able to help a lot of people later on by telling them, you know, don't do this, and don't offer shot glasses and T-shirts and, you know, whatever. But the crowdfunding thing I thought was pretty brilliant. I was like, oh my God, I could actually communicate with my audience and see if they're behind the idea I want to pitch. And they'll tell me how much they like it or hate it by how much they support it, you know? And I thought, well, this is like, you know, this is like a unique opportunity, because I don't really need a comic company at this point telling me, and, you know, Graham, you've had it done to you, telling me what to draw, telling me what to write, you know? And I can experiment, because I don't have to have a comics code. I can do an adult book if I want, or I could do a book about, you know, a girl that turns into a crab, and I could do a book about a science fiction book that I know I could never sell anywhere else. And, you know, my last one was Pop Kill. Thank you, TJ. And that was 4 issues about a competing soda company. Who the hell's going to publish that? You know? So I think it's not only great, but I think it's our at least mine and Amanda's future in the business is we're going to stick with that. I think we're going to put our ideas on paper and, you know, test the market. If they like it, they'll tell us. If they don't, they'll tell us, you know, but we're going to do what we want to do. Right. And I think that's the trick and that was my trick with Marvel Knights, by the way, with me and Joe, is we found the creators that really love those characters. And I think what crowdfunding does is it lets the creators do what they want to do. And when that happens, there's passion in it. It's not just, I need to get this issue of Wolverine out, or I need to get this Batman project done because it's due. It's, oh my God, I love this idea. Wait till I show you guys how cool this book is. And if it sucks, it sucks. They'll tell you, you know that. People love to tell you when something's not good. But you know, I love the feedback and the interaction. I see those same names, Kickstarter after Kickstarter, that support what I do. So I try to make that product not only be the best product, but feel good. You know, the book looks good. It feels good. And sometimes there's a collector's market involved afterwards, which I don't control, but I'm happy to see people trading them in like currency. That's kind of fun to see too. You know, it's not something I set out to do, but it's another part of crowdfunding.
What do you mean? They're trading the comic?
Like I do some limited covers, and then I see people selling them for. We did a limited edition Pop Kill cover with Adam Hughes that we only did like 350 copies. Now they're going for like $1,000 online.
Wow.
If I knew that, I would have printed 450, and I would have. Yeah. But we only printed what, you know, up to order, and then, you know, you print extras in case they get damaged and stuff like that, and comps from all the guys. But you know, there's a second life to them, and that's cool. You know, that's part of it. I learned that, you know, people like different covers on books. I don't go crazy with it, but we do have some fun if we can get a good guest. You know.
I think one of the cool things, excuse me, with the crowdfunding is the ability to take the time to do it right, because you don't have a self-imposed deadline of it having to appear monthly, unless you want that and you set that up yourself. But you know, if you're producing 1 or 2 books a year, and you produce them on time, but you can take the time to make them look the way you want them to look. I mean, I just did this page. And this never happened for me at DC, but it took me 3 days to do this page, because can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me just blow it up a little bit. Okay. It took me 3 days to do this page because it was I wanted to get all the reference right for the Japanese soldiers and the Marines. I changed the angles and stuff, and I wanted to pace it a certain way. And then add the gray tones for as color holds for Greg, and you know, I could never do that. You know, working on a monthly book.
That looks great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had just having a ball doing this kind of stuff, and it sounds like you are too. And that, you know, it's just so important. Passion was the word you used, and it's so true that these are passion projects. You know. You don't love superheroes, but that's pretty much all Marvel and DC, you know, do. But you love all this junk.
Amanda loves them. Look, when I was a kid, I liked Spider-Man. I love the Fantastic Four. I love the Fantastic Four. Okay. Yeah. You know, but there's more to comics than that. You know, and look, I'm a heavy metal kid. Manara and Mobius and Jordy Bernay, and
Yeah.
I love the European guys, and the man is probably sick of hearing me fussing about them.
It's fine.
But but I'm also a lover of comic art, so and that's Jordy. There you go.
Yes.
So Jordy Burnett, and I know you know who Jordy is, but for people who don't know, he's like, I want to say he's like the Joe Kubert of Spain, is my best way of saying what Jordy. But Jordy's like a celebrity. Jordy's a big name over there. He's done one of my favorite books called Torpedo, is and actually we went to hunt him down to get him to do Jonah Hex, and we went to Barcelona, Spain, and we met Jordy and his son. Now Jordy doesn't speak English, but he does speak French, Italian, Spanish, but not English, and I don't speak anything except English, so that was fun. When Jordy and I first met, we sat in the lobby of a hotel, and I went, Joe Kubert, and he went, oh. And then he would name an artist, and I would go, oh, yeah, And then his son finally came so we could translate everything. It was hysterical. But he's so wonderful, and I think I did 13 issues with Jordy. Me and Justin wrote 13 issues for Jordy, and they're like, one day I'll get the rights to publish them as a black and white book, but he's one of my favorite artists because he's pure storytelling, pure emotion. Jordy's stuff, right, was like he's that you can read everything in the figure with him, and he has that classic drawing style where it looks like he did it like it was nothing, like Joe Kubert, like Joe used to do.
Yeah, make it look so easy.
It's so organic. That's what it is. There's not a straight line in it. There's no rulers anywhere, but everything is just so beautiful, so full of life. Yeah,
I'm thinking, because I have them here. I translated some of the Torpedo books. I was lucky enough to do the translation. Let me get it up here. I'm always pulling shit off the shelf here. But I got to translate this one of the Torpedo books. This was Dark Horse published it. Oh no, I'm sorry, IDW. IDW published it.
Okay.
And it's a collection of Jordy's stuff. And for some reason they asked me to translate it, which was really nice because I don't know a word of Italian. So I had to translate the Italian into English and then rewrite the English, which was like the craziest gig. But the guy he's just an amazing artist. And if you haven't read Torpedo, go out and get these books. They will make you laugh and cry, and you'll probably should be a little shocked at the same time.
Yeah,
they're beautiful.
They're very violent too.
Yeah.
And a lot of sex. There's a lot of sex and violence in them, but it's very Spanish too, right? It feels like very Spanish and Italian.
Like in Europe, they don't, they're not real uptight about that stuff.
Yeah.
It's they're storytellers, and it's a story to be told.
Yeah.
So they have a different sensibility in Europe about, storytelling and what's, offensive and not offensive.
Right.
I will say, Jordy said something to me when we were like after the fourth script of Jonah Hex. He said to me, from now on, can you add some humor to Jonah? And I said, Jonah's easy to do humor because it's all situation humor. It's like he's miserable and people are trying to be like something around him. And it's funny sometimes. And I remember we wrote this sequence of a bunch of nuns beating up Jonah Hex, who fell asleep drunk in a graveyard, and he woke up and the nuns beat him with sticks because he was not supposed to be drinking it where the dead were. And Jordy was just like, yes, that's great. It's like 2 pages of nuns beating up Jonah Hex. And he was so happy to get that. He was like, that's it. That's the humor I want. I'm like, okay, now I know. And we did a whole thing with a bullfighter, like a bullfighter. His girlfriend falls in love with Jonah, and Jonah wants nothing to do with her. And the bullfighter is like trying to, stumble over himself to get back the girl, and Jonah doesn't even care about the girl. Like, we did all these fun things with Jordy because that's what he wanted,
TJ James, Torpedo is slang for a hitman. Yeah,
that is correct. Yes.
I learned something new. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Of course.
Hopefully Amanda has a create-her-own superhero comic in the future.
I do.
Oh.
Well, we have Captain Brooklyn is next.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's
Captain Brooklyn,
the one that we're working on.
with Frank Thierry co-created with it. And then we have
It's actually based on Frank. It's like Frank Thierry as a superhero.
right, which is horrible.
I'll read that.
Yes. There's a lot of cursing.
You think?
Yeah. I don't want to do my Frank imitation because the phone's going to ring and start yelling at me. Why are you making fun of me like that?
It was funny. It's like when I see the Tasmanian Devil in Looney Tunes, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Frank. You know, it's like,
Frank, she said that, not me. I did not say that, Frank.
He is the human Tasmanian Devil.
Again.
Jimmy's past taking the fifth here.
Because I know Frank is going to go, you're not my friends anymore. That's this guy. You're not my friends. But we love him. He hates to hear it, but we love the hell out of Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank's a great guy.
He's actually a big teddy bear, but don't tell anybody.
Don't even tell teddy bears because they'll be upset.
How dare you say that about teddy bears?
Right, exactly. The cursing teddy bear.
The cursing teddy bear.
So where do you guys see the big two going these days? As publishers, do you see them as relevant anymore?
I mean,
I
mean, they're relevant to somebody, but I don't know if they're relevant to artists anymore or writers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I feel like they're like fast becoming licensing companies. Well, I mean, technically they are licensing companies that do an occasional comic.
I think the books are trying so hard to be relevant, they're forgetting that they have to actually write a great story. Like, I think they're trying so hard to please so many people that they're kind of forgetting what they actually were created for, which was entertainment, you know? Mm-hmm. I see them doing whatever they're going to do, but I also see the audience growing up and saying, okay, yeah, that was fun, but now I need something that's a little more challenging for my brain. Or, you know, I get it. I get how some people love reading 1,000 comics with Batman and the Joker fighting. I get it. They love it. They love it. I can't take that away from them. Or Spider-Man, you know, and the villains. I get it. There's this security thing there. There's this thing that gives them some comfort. And I'm okay with that because that's their comfort food. But I think this comes apart when everybody where they're like, I need to try something new, or I need something that's aimed towards my sensibilities. It's great to watch the regular TV shows, but I need my Breaking Bad, or I need my special thing. You know, it's great. And again, I feel that way with the superhero movies. I'm like, I'm happy they're there and I'm happy they make people happy. But a lot of them aren't for me because I watch them and I'm like, oh my God, that's so weak, you know. But I'm happy they're there and I'm happy people enjoy them, you know. But I think it's going to be creator first soon. I think that's slowly happening, where people are following creators and they're not following companies. Because you know, let's be honest, Disney and Warner Brothers, and it's not Warner Brothers. I'm sorry, AT&T or Discovery. I don't know what it is this week, but these companies keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's hard to figure out what their focus is. And you know, we're also the audience, right? As creators, we're also the audience for this. We still go to the comic book store and buy stuff. But you know, I think a lot of times they're looking at it as money, how much money we make. They have stockholders. We don't have stockholders. We just have bills. They have stockholders and they need to make a certain amount of money. So licensing is important to them. Like I said, they have a lot of masters. And I think with that, things get watered down. Now, don't get me wrong, because in there, sometimes there's some really creative stuff pops out. But you got to remember, Joe Quesada and I came into Marvel when it was like so dead. Like we did Marvel Nights. It was when we came in to do Marvel Nights, they were canceling Punisher. They were canceling Daredevil. Imagine that. They were canceling Daredevil, right? It's not even imaginable. And then we said, well, here's a bunch of, you know, here's us, and we're passionate about these characters, and we're going to get passionate people on the characters. Kevin Smith loves Daredevil. We're going to do Daredevil. Chris Priest and Tex love Black Panther. Jay Lee Jenkins, they love the Inhumans, you know, and so on, right? So we got Dennis and Steve on Punisher and all these different books. So I just think that I think the creators are going to become, I think, the new focus. I think it's going to be less. I think we're losing the people that bought every X-Men issue, even though they always come back. I buy them all, but I tell you, the last 35 weren't great. We hear that all the time. I've been buying it since I was a kid, so I'm always buying it. But I think corporate comics are going to be a little tougher as we move forward.
Mhm.
I think people are going to start buying, not by company. Sometimes they're going to buy more characters, but they're also going to follow creators. And I'm hoping that's the case because, we do that with film, with directors, right? We follow writers and directors. Sometimes people follow the actors, though,
Mhm.
Well, also, if they're not doing justice to your favorite characters,
Right.
and then it's just like, oh my God, I'm dumping all this money on a story that's not even interesting to me.
Right.
Right. Even if it is your favorite character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even recognize half of my favorite characters anymore. I don't recognize how they behave, how they look.
Right.
It's like these people want to come in and they just want to change it to make it their character. But
Right.
you're a gatekeeper. You're there. You're standing on the shoulders of giants when you work on these corporate characters, and you need to show respect for what made those characters great. Yeah, you can tweak and modernize, for the newer, for a different audience, and
Yeah.
you got to keep the old audience too, and you have to
Right.
keep the characters true to themselves.
Yeah.
When you
Well,
look at those successful Marvel films, the most successful ones are the ones that went not where they weren't doing what Marvel was doing with those characters then. They were
Right.
doing what made those characters great when Marvel knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and like we were watching, a lot of people, I guess, like in maybe the 90s, I guess people were reimagining, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but can you just imagine it the way it's supposed to be imagined?
Well, I'll tell you, we do have. I mean, Amanda and I came. Well, Jonah Hex, I just continued. I didn't change Jonah Hex. It was exactly like it was. But when we went and got Power Girl, we kind of updated her a little bit, but we stuck to the core of who she was. Even with Harley, when we came on Harley,
especially Harley, they didn't want us. They did not want us to do the classic Harley costume, which, I was fine with because she wears a mask and I want to see face. I want to draw a face, and I was like, when like the mask is there, it drives me nuts.
Right.
This is the Bruce Timm one, you mean?
I love it. I love looking at it. I just don't want to draw it.
Gotcha.
But then they had given us this Harley, and she had like a cape and like little, like this little outfit, and it had neck ruffles, and I'm like, I hate drawing neck ruffles. I feel like I don't even like the way they look. I don't even like when Queen Elizabeth in paintings is wearing neck ruffles. I think they look ridiculous.
Amanda's going to be that crazy person at the museum taking them out with paint, where all the security jumps up, And
I know they were actually, people wore them to hide, like, I guess, like syphilis scars or something like that, or like, like pock marks on their neck.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah. I really do hate neck ruffles. So, and I think they were saying, yeah, you can't change Harley's costume. And I was just like, shh. And I went and I changed it anyway. And I sort of like kept the way she looked, got rid of the neck ruffles, got rid of the cape. And then, and she started looking like a, roller derby girl. But the one thing that Jimmy and I agreed with each other is that we were going to take her personality right back to Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. She was going to have the exact same personality that she did, in 1992.
Right, but we're going to move her out of Gotham because you put Harley in Gotham and she's a secondary character. She's a Batman grown-up. So we took her and put her in Coney Island, gave her own supporting cast, and every page of our Harley comics had Harley on them. It was never about the other guy. It was always Harley's point of view. And that was a conscious thing because I said, if we're going to create a character and build on her, we can't make it about the Batman villains. We can't have it in Gotham. That's like it's like just going back to what it was before. We need to establish who she is. And we got lucky. It actually, it took a while. It did pretty good for a while there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, again, it was creators having a passion for it. And we love the character. we love Power Girl. We pitched another Power Girl series to DC. They had no interest. They were like, no thanks.
Jenny said before I would kill to see a Power Girl series from you again. And I would too. I would love to do more Power Girl. She is my favorite. You know what? I love Harley Quinn. I adore Power Girl. She's my hands down favorite DC character, and I would love to do more Power Girl, but they're not doing it.
We asked, and they were like, no. And so I'm like, okay, see you later.
They say why?
They don't think it would sell. I have no idea. They just didn't want to. We pitched a couple of things, and they said no to all of them. So we were like, okay, time to move on. I mean, I don't know. We did pretty good with that Harley character. Let us do something else. But there's only so much we can. We pitched a couple of things. My attitude is, okay, those are the things we wanted to do. So if if you don't want us to do it, we'll move on. And we got plenty to do of ourselves. We have a lot of ideas. So Jenny Gray, sorry, we'll just have to create a Power Girl type character and and give it a name. Maybe we'll just call the character Boob Window.
Yeah,
TJ could be happy. I think we would do pretty good with a Kickstarter of a character named Boob Window.
Too late. I just trademarked it.
There you go. That's all right. We give you a percentage. Give you a percentage. That's we're at the age where we don't want to do a book we have no interest in.
Mm-hmm.
So we do say no to a lot of things we have no interest in. And Nikki Dynamite came around and said Red Sonja, and we're like, ooh, we could do 6 issues of that. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not fun, we don't want to do it. Because you're not going to get our best work. So we're not going to do it from now on. We don't do it unless we really have a passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because one day we'll be dead. So
hopefully not soon.
Hopefully not soon, but we only have a certain amount of books in our life. We know, Yeah. So
I don't know. Frank Thorne went a pretty long run there.
Good for Frank. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And he still had his chops too.
He did like Joe Kubert, man. Joe.
Yeah.
Joe and Will Eisner, and I mean, there were a lot of guys that I kept saying, oh, can they please be alive for the next 40 years? Can I just get more stuff from them? I was so bummed. Mobius, I'm like, oh, kill me, like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, babe.
Yeah, what can you do? Darwin Cook, come on, our buddy.
Yeah.
How he left us so early. And,
yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I sat and had lunch and he talked about what he wants to do next. And, hey, I got this story and I want to do this, and, oh, we should do this. And all those things, they went with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sucks.
Yeah, you just never know. That's why you got to do the things you love. You're free, Amanda.
Amanda's like,
no.
Amanda's like, I'm going to draw a torpedo series now. I'm like, come back from the dead. Mm-hmm.
No.
Amanda says, or Jenny says, Amanda, I love that sequential art by you book.
Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, that was, they did a really good job of putting that together. I thought. I
think they reprinted everything Amanda ever did for DC into trade books. Like everything you've ever done,
maybe,
is in like a book from
be.
DC. Yeah, no, they did. They took every last thing you did and put it in there. It was crazy.
Okay. Oh, I hope the royalties are good.
It affords us this hat and one lens of this
your sparkly
lens.
Background.
And this one lens right here, this lens it paid for.
And his sugar mama.
Yeah, Manny takes care of me.
I buy him hats and half glasses.
She does. And dinner tonight. I'll make dinner tonight.
Good.
Awesome. So what do you guys got going on your plates right now? Anything you want to plug before we wind things up?
I'm actually working on something that I signed an NDA about, and it's going to take a while to finish because there's a lot of people on the cover.
Amanda has a couple of NFTs on what's the site?
Oh, I have a couple of NFTs on Maker's Place.
of her original stuff.
But I can't get to it.
Yeah.
I was like on the main page, and I was like typing in my name, and it didn't go to it, and I'm like, ruh-roh, this isn't good.
They're still figuring it out. But no, Sonia is our main. We have two more issues to write of Sonia,
Okay.
and then we have a Kickstarter we're doing with has to do with Amanda's art. And then we have a book we're working on. Captain Brooklyn is the book we're working on. Mm-hmm. And I have a Kickstarter.
Will that be crowdfunded, Jimmy? Captain Brooklyn?
Yes.
Is that
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have a book coming with Scott Hampton we did together. That's
crowdfunded again?
Yeah, that's probably my next Kickstarter is Scott. It's all drawn. We're done. We're just tweaking the story and getting some covers done for it and stuff. But I've been working with Scott for the past year on it, and he's fantastic.
How long have you known Scott for?
I've known Scott Hampton for a long time. He did my GI Zombie book, which I'm happy is back in my ownership, mine and Justin's ownership. I've been a fan of Scott's for longer than I've known him. But then I used to go to cons and get him to draw me things and watercolor sketches as a fan. And then when I started working professional, as soon as I did Marvel Knights, I hired him to do those Black Widow books. He painted a couple of Black Widow books. Marvel Knights gave me a chance to hire everyone I was a big fan of,
Nice.
And give them work and overpay them. I overpaid them using Marvel's money. It was fantastic. I hired all the guys I was big fans of, and so it was fun to work. Yeah, including Amanda, actually, yeah. And so I got to work with Scott on this book, and it's a horror book. It's a kind of like one of those. It's a done in one, like creepy thing. We could talk about it when I have something to show you, but
okay. What's the timeline on that? When do you think that Kickstarter will launch?
I'm thinking July.
July. And what about Captain Brooklyn?
I'm not doing. I can't. I'm getting my books from Sex and Violence 3 in next week from the printer, so it's going to take me like 2 to 3 weeks to pack everything up and get it out. So I don't do the Kickstarter until everybody gets their books from the one before. So I don't launch another one until
it's all done. Good policy. Yeah. Douglas Leftridge says, can't wait for the next Kickstarter. Sex and Violence Volume 3 is outstanding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Because once we hit the goal and everybody got their thing, we gave everybody the digital to start. So everybody that backed the digital, everyone that backed it got a digital copy so they can read it. But the physical copies, I'm waiting. Again, you understand this. I wanted it spot varnished on the cover. We did. So the printer has to go somewhere else for the spot varnish. Yeah. So it gives me like an extra week, but they come out so beautiful. I'm like, trust me, wait the week.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, I did spot varnish on my Chanu cover where all the blood was spot varnish and the logos, and then it was a matte finish, like a silky matte finish on the. Oh my God, it's so gorgeous.
Don't you love it when it comes out like that? You're like, oh, this is so pretty.
It feels so luxurious.
Well, I'm like Amanda, very much about touch and everything, and paper and stuff. So when we do our Kickstarter books, I feel like if I'm going to charge $20 or $15 or $25, it has to feel like that. It has to feel like you're getting something that feels compatible. Because let's be honest, the most comic books you buy now, they don't even have a cover stock. They use the interior stock because they feel so disposable.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are. So I feel like with the Kickstarter, we have to go the extra mile with print quality and paper quality. I don't want any bleed through, like I'm like a real picky. I want my blacks to be like, look like a black hole. I don't want them to, but I don't want to see them on the back of my next page. And guys who buy the Kickstarters, we go through so much trying to get the right papers and the right, printing and the spine right. And,
right.
It's all this crazy stuff.
You're very, very particular with your.
I will send it back to the printer if I'm not happy.
Yeah. Hey, I'm upgrading my paper on Alien Alamo because one thing I hate about modern comics is that glossy sheen. If you read that at night under a light, you got to move like this because there's a reflection, on there.
I'm trying to find one of the books that you
know what else I hate is like some of the comic book companies when they do like more deluxe books, that wax paper cover stock that you cannot put a signature on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I cannot stand that stuff. You know, it drives me nuts. Although we did find one set of markers that you can use on it.
They're horrible. No, those. No, what you
Oh, the
talking about.
covers.
Yeah.
If you're ever stuck with one of those books, use Sharpie Extremes, not the regular Sharpies. The regular Sharpies will just bead right up and
okay.
It's out. The Sharpie Extremes, and you can use the colors in those, or the Statler permanent the Luma colors, but only in black. Only the black Statlers the Statler Luma colors will work on those covers, not the other ones.
Okay.
So I'm just showing you the Pop Kill. You can see where it's spot varnished on the logo, the character, but it's a flat printing. And then with all my books, so somebody was asking, you go to Paper Films, that's where we have our books. But I am a firm believer in photo credits.
Dun, 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 dun.
I want to see who's making my comics, so I put photo credits in everything. Everything. That's like a must have for me.
That's nice.
But the printing is just, the printing on it is just top notch.
Yeah.
And cover stock.
Yeah.
Paper stock, different, right? That's how you make a book.
Now, is that a satin finish on the interior paper?
It's a flat satin, but it's flat. Yeah. It's not shiny. And the paper's thick. I mean, you literally don't want to use this as toilet paper. You will cut yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to upgrade to that satin finish on Alien Alamo just so that I don't have that sheen on it.
Yeah. And TJ's asking, how do I feel about Lansdale's script for the Jonah Hex Showcase, Stuart? I thought he did a great job. He took a short story we did in one of the Jonah Hex issues, and he wrote the script for the animated short. And, Joe Lansdale's amazing. So, of course, flattered. So.
Nice. So we have one more question here. Jimmy, give us the hard sell on your Kickstarter IP. Give us the hard sell on the Kickstarter IP. I want to buy one. What's the genre?
Okay, so
ones.
So they're mostly adult. I will say that most of them do have violence and nudity in them. So if that offends you, you probably shouldn't buy any of them. But I will say, if you go to paperfilms.com, we do have some Pop Kill copies. We have some leftover, not many. I have like we're talking a couple of some of the older Kickstarters. Though we do have all the digitals downloads too you can do. But they're all different. They're all action stuff. There's some the sex and violence books are very much short stories by different people and different artists, and they're basically around those themes of either sex or violence. So there's some crime, there's some outer space stuff, there's some westerns. We mix up the genres in it, and go to Paper Film, go to the website, check out what you like, and you can ask me questions on Twitter. You can say, hey, I like this. How would this book do? By all means, I'm like Graham. We answer everybody that hits us with a question.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
and I put the link into the chat here for paperfilms.com. So guys, click that link and check out all the stuff that Jimmy and Amanda are working on, because it's all top notch. You can't go wrong supporting any of their products. So, hey guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on and the Storytellers tonight, and sharing with us your love of comics.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, man,
was fun.
Fun and easy. So much fun,
and we love all you guys writing in.
Yes, especially Brian Blevins. Brian, and yeah, we like I said, if you want to get in touch with me, just hit us up on Twitter. Any questions you have, we answer. We're here for you guys. We want to create things that you guys love, and we want to take all your money. So basically, we want it all.
Everything you said is true. We love you, and we want your money.
Yeah, we want your money, but that's so we can make some more stuff for you.
That's it. You got to keep the lights on while we're working.
Because you don't want an angry Amanda making your comics. Or a hungry Amanda. You don't want a hungry. That's
angry. Hangry.
I do get hangry.
She is hangry.
I do. I tend
She
to.
does.
Like,
Sometimes I have to like throw a bottle of wine and some cheese into her room and close the door real quick because I'm afraid of what's going on in there. But
A
yeah.
bottle of wine and cheese solves a lot of problems, I will say.
yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Well, thanks to everybody in the chat for coming in and watching the show tonight. Next Wednesday, my old pal Chuck Dixon's going to come back with Frank Fosco, and they're going to talk about the launch of their new series. So check us back in next Wednesday night for the Storytellers for that one. Until then, we'll see you. Bye-bye.